No, I'm not one of the lucky few that got to unbox the Apple Vision Pro ahead of time. But I am one of the many that actually used virtual reality before, so here's a list of what to expect from a VR veteran. First, the Apple Vision Pro is a virtual reality device. Apple just decided to rename everything around their headset so that they're never compared with someone else. So always keep that in mind. The good news is the Vision Pro is actually quite similar with most other headsets and is most similar with the Quest 3 or the Quest Pro I have back there. So if you ever used one of these, you should have an easier transition to the Vision Pro. Firstly, all VR headsets require some fidgeting to make them sit comfortable on your face. And that's because your face is a pretty complicated shape, so don't be afraid to move things up and down, backward, forward, and you'll instantly see the image getting clearer and sharper, and that's when you know you have a good fit. So that's all normal. Then the custom light seal that Apple requires you to scan your face for, it's something that all headsets have, and typically it's gonna be something like a generic shape that fits most heads. This is from the Pico VR 4, and Apple one is gonna be, it's not a 3D printed thing, it's just gonna be the one that matches your face most closely. The downside to that is if you ever want to share your VR headsets at work or at home, those people will need their own light seal, or they will have to make do with a light seal that's probably very different to their face. So that's kind of a downside. NKBHD always complains how the Apple Vision Pro is quite a heavy device. And that's actually true for pretty much all headsets out there. And there's different approaches to how to get that weight from the front of your face better distributed. Apple seems to have chosen a pretty non-logical head strap design, which they call bands, which doesn't seem to do a great job of picking up the weight from the front. Like, Pico VR has this strap here. Apple VR has a strap that goes the other way around, and it's also not a rigid strap, so that's not going to be able to actually support the weight in the front. It's just going to press that weight against your face. So maybe not the best design decision by Apple, but it's definitely a distinctive look. But what you have to understand is that VR takes some time to get used to. You are gonna sweat in VR. It is gonna be heavy. It's something that's stuck to your face, right? So don't expect to spend hours at a time from your first VR session. But over time, as you use it more and more, you get adapted and you kind of get used to what's the most comfortable position, and you'll be able to spend quite a few hours in just one session. What is unique about the Apple Vision Pro is its pretty big and heavy battery connected with a cable to the headset. I actually don't have much feedback or tips and tricks to give you there because no other VR headset has this design approach. And the reason is quite simple. Apple has a laptop processor in there, it's the M2, whereas all other standalone VR devices, they all have mobile chipsets, like the ones you'll find in a smartphone, and consequently they also have a mobile battery which is much smaller. So that's why you have that big laptop battery attached. When it comes to content, you should know that VR apps tend to come in all shapes and sizes. That's because VR developers like me tend to experiment a lot, especially because VR is a new medium, so there aren't any design patterns established yet. Our own VR app, Unfold VR, is eventually coming to the Apple Vision Pro as soon as Apple opens distribution to Europe. And speaking about Apple's limited launch, you should expect a fairly small crowd of VR peers because the community right now is in the tens of millions, not hundreds or more. But the good news is, this is a consumer segment that has been constantly growing over time, and now that Apple joined the party, I'm actually expecting a much faster pace when it comes to consumer growth. That's it. Subscribe to get more insights into VR and all the experiences that you can have in this space. Until next time, I'm George.